Good morning, people. It's Friday morning. Have a fantastic day and an even better weekend. I'm looking forward to the weekend. We're addressing the mountain of hopelessness in light of the verse that Jesus says that there's not a mountain that can stand in your way if you have just a grain of mustard seed size faith. So we're looking at what it means to move these mountains. So far, we've done the mountain of disappointment with God. We've done the mountain of shame. We've been dealing this week with the mountain of hopelessness in a world that looks apparently totally hopeless. It's only apparent because we know there's always hope in God, but a world that would look in a miserable situation. Just look at the politics, look at the economic, look at the situation of hopelessness for millions and millions of people. But I tell you what, it's only apparent hopelessness. If they could just catch the vision of the purpose of God that lives behind and beyond the problem as seen in the vision of God, what a different purpose that would be. What a different situation that would be if you could just find it. We've been talking about looking past the problem to the vision and the promise of God beyond that problem. That's simply what vision is. Now, we spoke in this last week about, let me just recap quickly. We spoke about becoming cleverer rather than stronger. You'll never become strong enough to defeat these giants and move these mountains on your own. Just get a bit cleverer. We've spoken about don't use somebody else's armor. Don't look to popular psychology to be able to get the answers to your hopelessness. It's found in God. We've spoken about don't look back, people. There's nothing for you back there. There's only lessons that you've learned from back there that you can apply as you move forward. We've spoken about getting a picture of the person God wants you to be. We've spoken about getting a picture of the person and the things that God wants you to do. Now today I want to talk about the place that God wants you to be. This is the greatest aspect of what vision is all about. You see, God is not so much worried about where we are on this planet right now. As long as you're serving God where you are within the will of God. But God is saying, I want you to be in heaven one day. That's great vision. That's looking way beyond the problem, is it not? To the promise of God, to a place where we get to be with God one-on-one. We get to see Him face to face. We get to fellowship with God, with other fellow believers, with an intimacy that only our imaginations, even they cannot even come close to what heaven is all about. And the good news is that God wants you to be there. Now, we have some great stories in the Bible that would picture this to be true, but we need to ask ourselves the question, are we first of all going to be there? How do I get to heaven one day? Well, remember the rich young ruler came and said, Jesus said to him, you got to put me first in your life. Get rid of your money. Not that Jesus has a thing with money, but the thing was that this guy's money was coming between him and Jesus. Jesus said, I want to be number one in your life. I want you to trust me for salvation. I want you to trust me to deal with the issue of sin and to trust me to deal with the issue of hopelessness in your lives. You know, so much good stuff is born at a time of crisis. Do you remember those beautiful old songs that was sung by the Negro slaves back in the early 1800s or whenever, and how they would sing about heaven? And even though their situation was so bad here on earth, they would sing on swing low, sweet chariot, come and take me home. They would sing beautiful songs about that which was still destined to come. Their hope was not found in fixing their situation here. Their hope and the purpose and the beauty of those songs was found because they believed that God had a place called heaven and He wanted them to be there. I can put up with a lot down here if I know I've got that there. And when we start living with heaven in mind, what a difference that is going to be. Matthew 25 tells us all about Jesus talking about the king who welcomed his servants into this beautiful place after giving them talents to go and do stuff. And those that had done well, Jesus said, well done, you guys, get over here, get into this place and I'm going to bless you forever. It's a picture of heaven. And they did what they did with heaven in mind, knowing that one day they would have to stand before their master, they would have to stand before the king, and they'd have to stand accountable for the things that the king had given to them and the talents that they now had to report back on. And the king said, well done, good and faithful servant. enter now into the joy of your Lord. Now that is great terminology, a great picture of what heaven is all about. So I hope today that we're going to make our lives count for something, that you'll make your life count for something more than just how much money you earn, what kind of car you drive, where you live, how many houses you own. You know what, if I could have some graffiti paint, I would go on all of those things and I would just spray paint temporary. I'd spray temporary on your fancy car, and I'd spray temporary on your big fancy house or on your bank. I'd just spray temporary graffiti all over those things that you thought were so important. People at the end of the day, they're not important at all. All that is important at all is that God welcomes you into heaven with the words, "Well done, good and faithful servant." So use what God has given to you. Use what He's given, and by way of assets and talents and time and treasure and all that good stuff. Use it for the purpose of that which is still to come. Now that, people, is the real deal. And I hope that as you look at this thing that we've been talking about, vision, that the vision of heaven will just spur you on, will cheer you on as you contemplate the vision that God has for you here on this planet. I can't wait to get to heaven, people. It's going to be awesome. I hope to see you there. Have a great week. Keep the vision alive, and the problem becomes much more manageable as long as you've got the vision of the promise of God ahead. Have a great day, and we'll see you on Sunday.
is breaking.